Hi guys, thanks for checking out this video. Today we're starting off on a homeowner gas safety check and Bailey has found something untoward. Oh shit. Okay, so we're back at the job where we installed all the butylene, and if you haven't watched that video, you can check it out on the link after this one. So we have installed a partially new gas carcass to the boiler, but we needed to keep the gas hob live just because the customer's going to be living here with his kitchen temporarily. But Bailey, with all his wisdom, he was smart, he's taken out the electric cooker and he has found something that is unfortunately quite common. So you can see here we've got a flexible hose going up to a gas hob. Now this should always be rigid unless specified in the manufacturer's instructions, but I've never seen one that actually specifies you can use it. So it's a classic case of the old gas freestanding cooker's been removed, and rather than adjust the pipework to suit, they have simply just connected it up with a gas cooker hose. So because the hose itself is actually intended for gas, it's not classed as immediately dangerous, it's actually classed as at risk. So like I say, unfortunately we see this a lot, especially on landlords' gas safety checks. So because we've changed the gas carcass, we now need to disconnect this, get it piped up with rigid copper and add an isolation valve. Right, we've moved swiftly on to the second fix of a bathroom that we showed the first fix on in one of the last couple of videos. Now, we've got a classic example of who's moved the shower valve. So, as you can see here, Bailey's got the shower valve nice and level. He's got a level on it, he's took a photo of it. And now we've come back to put the shower plate on and it's at a level. Now this happens all the time and we're never sure what mystery has caused this and who's to blame, but nevertheless we get quite good at sorting this out, so we'll try and rectify what we can and get it as level as possible. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the toilet. Normally like to get the toilet out of the way just because it's big and bulky and probably my least favourite sanitary ware item to install. So normally when you buy a close coupled toilet, they will obviously come with all the gubbins for inside the cistern. Now most field valves nowadays, they have plastic threads which you just want to get rid of. Get rid of that. We're going to be fitting a Viva or Vitra. What is it, Bailey? Viva or Vitra? Viva. One with a brass shank on it, just so we're going to have a lot more longevity. We're less likely to have any leaks. And it's a lot easier to tighten up without worrying about damaging the threads. So on this particular cistern, it's only got one hole for it. So let's get that chucked in. Now I'll try to angle that as close to the side as possible just to stay away from the siphon. So annoyingly, brass shank but still has plastic back nut. Come on guys. Trying to do to me. Right, finish that up. Siphon's perfectly fine to use. It's obviously a larger diameter thread, so it's less likely to be an issue. Take out the plastic washer. So we've just got the rubber diaphragm that goes on the inside. Or rubber O-ring, I should say. Slide that in there. Like so. Now once these are in position and tight, you can obviously silicone these up if you want. The only reason I would suggest not doing that is just for future maintenance. It can be a bit of an issue, especially if you use something strong like a grab adhesive. So once that's pinched up, I will literally just put the grips on that, give it a couple of extra pinches, but I won't go too mad, and that'll be perfectly adequate. Okay, so while I've been effing and jeffing at the toilet, Bailey has got this shower arm in with a very thin shower head, which we really like. It's almost like a blade. And then down here we've got our concealed shower valve. So because we had that little bit of an issue with it being slightly out of level, we're just using a bit of black waste overflow pipe and just to hold it in place while the silicone goes off. Obviously handset there on the left. And then we've got a matching black floating vanity unit with black tap. And four pipes are there, it's in the drawer. And then yeah, just bottle trap with angled isolation valves. Now the issue I had with the toilet was the donut. It just wouldn't seal up at all. So because the donut was so small, I couldn't compress it. So once the system hit the pan, there was no more compression to be had. So I had to get a thicker donut. So I've had to run Screwfix to get the missing toilet fixings and also the bigger donut. So slightly stressed out. And then while I was doing that, Bailey has also hung the radiator. So pretty cushy day on this one. So this one's all wrapped up now and we can move on to the next job. Okay, this is the waterproof paneling that we're going to be fitting on this installation. So it's like a white marble effect. So we leave the plastic on when we're making all the cuts, as that just helps to prevent any chipping. And we haven't got many carpentry tools between us, so we're using the level as a rail. Seems to work well last time. So we've got our measurements written down on this piece of cardboard here. Now the first cut on the right hand side of the shower wall is quite straightforward, so it's just a straight cut, so we should be fine with this one. The actual curvature of the ceiling is not too bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this level, Bailey's going to do the chopping, and we'll be fine. Cut number 2 then, so now we're doing the height cut. It is a small ceiling in there, so these boards actually look quite small now. We're getting them cut into place. So you do get a slight bit of chipping when you're cutting these boards, so don't be alarmed by that, but you just need to pre-plan what edge is going to be where. So this one's going up against the ceiling, and then this cut here will have a chrome profile on it, so that will cover the chipping. And I must admit, sometimes you can be unfortunate and you get quite a large chip, but usually you're totally fine. So we're just putting a brand new blade on the skill saw just to make sure we're trying to cover any potential problems. So yeah, let's get this next cut done. Okay, so we've just lifted that panel we've just cut into the room, and we've had to cut out a little bit of the ceiling just so that when we pack it out from the bottom of the tray, it will actually slide up into the ceiling itself. So this is quite an unusual room. The height's only about 1.9, so it's not your typical ceiling height. So these boards on the tray, you want to pack them up about 3 or 4 mil, just so you can get your silicone bead underneath and it's not actually directly touching the tray itself. But the most important thing really, so the first thing we did to start was we put this chrome edging profile in position. So you want to make sure you get this totally level either side, and then just pin it into position. So once that's in place, you know that your boards are going to line up, you know, pretty fine as long as you cut them correctly. So in the corner here, these profiles are quite skinny, so I'd always recommend putting the factory edge on this side rather than the cut edge. So the cut edge end piece, or the end piece, sorry, that you put on the cut edge will cover like most of the little chips that happens when you're cutting it. So to be honest, this one's cut pretty nicely, so it's not too bad at all, but sometimes you do get a few chips coming away. So now that we've dry fitted it, what we're going to do is we're going to run a fixed silicone bead, obviously on this side, but I'll just show you here, almost in this channel here. So clear silicone all the way down, as tight to this corner or front facing corner as you can. And then we just apply the adhesive to the wall, slide it into position, and then just level it out. So it's pretty much like dot and dabbing a board if you've ever done that. So not a lot to it, although this one here is going to be a lot more tricky because we've got a lot of cutouts. Okay, so we've just installed our first waterproof panel. We've used the grab adhesive that comes with the kit, and we've used clear silicone down that chrome profile in the corner, and we've also packed out on the bottom with packers there just to stop it from touching the actual tray itself. Now, unfortunately, that is where the good news ends. We have noticed that this tray actually has got a crack in it, so it's very, very hard to see. I did not see it when we was installing it, which is a complete pain in the arse. Fortunately for me, I use Williams down in Hastings, Williams Trade Merchants, they're excellent. And Brian there is going to rectify this by sorting me out another tray. So thank you very much, Brian, but I can't really show you it. It is so fine, but it is actually cracked along here. So like I say, I didn't notice when I was installing the tray itself. There was a slight blemish on the front, and also the tray is quite bananaed, but we get used to that. And by bananaed, I just mean if you put a level on the edges, it almost like rocks around. So it is incredibly hard to get these level when they're like that, but unfortunately they all seem to come like that nowadays. But yeah, it's just bloody cracked, complete bastard. So what we're going to have to do is gun this all up, because it is secured down on a big old bed or flexible tile adhesive, and yeah, put a new one in. So hopefully it won't be too bad. Obviously the glassy seal is going to be a bit of a pain. We'll have to put a new one of them on, but at least we didn't put this panel on, so it's not the end of the world. I'll take it as a small loss. But annoyingly, all my years doing plumbing, I've installed probably, I don't know, maybe 100 trays, and I've only had 2 crack on me, and that's been in the last 12 months. So yeah, maybe I'm doing something wrong. But anyway, it's one of those things. We move on, we'll get it sorted, and then once that's in, we can put this panel on.